Hello everyone! Today we're going to have the last tutorial in this playlist. We're going to talk about Illustrator again. This time I have something for you that I call the molecular toolbox. This is the Illustrator file that contains a lot of vector files that are all lab related. So if you have a process that you did in the lab, you can take those files and create a nice graphic that describes your process. As an example, we're going to talk today about how to grow bacteria on a petri dish. The only thing you need to do now is to download the files from the website. As always, you find the link in the YouTube description below, and then we can get started. Let's start by opening the preview file. This contains all the vector graphics that you can use for your own figures, and I'm going to update this toolbox every few weeks, so if you check back in a few months, you might find some new stuff that is useful for your own graphics or figures. But let's go back. And here you can download the Illustrator file, and I have already done this. This is this one here, we can open this. And if I want to create now my own graphics, I should create a new file. The print settings are fine. We can click on OK. And it's a good idea if you create a graphic to make a sketch on a piece of paper or with Photoshop and a graphic tablet, to give you an idea which elements you need in your graphic. We're going to take this one, this is also on the website as well, and put it into our new file. Let's reposition it and scale it down a little bit. And we're going to lock this layer, and we're going to also create a new layer we want to work in. Next, we want to see which of those elements are already in our toolbox. So we're going over here and we're going to copy some of the elements. I want to select this one. We need a petri dish and also the Bunsen burner and maybe the lid and the pipette tip as well. We copy this one with Command C and paste it in here. And now we position them roughly where we're going to need those things. Let's zoom in on our graphic. And we can start working on our Eppendorf tube. We want to have some bacteria solution in here. So therefore we're going to double click on this one and we copy this element. Then we press escape and we can paste in just this thing here. Then we're going to use the pen tool to sketch out a bacteria solution in here. Like this, and let's say we give this one an orange color, and also we want no stroke. We send this one to the back, and now we can make this a clipping mask. Now this one fits perfectly on this Eppendorf tube again. If you press Command U, it should snap to the tube perfectly. Let's arrange this, send to the back. And also we need to remove the white fill of this tube. Like this, here we have our nice bacteria solution. Next we would get our pipette tip to get some of the solution. I would say reduce the size a little bit. Like this, and we also can delete some of those things in here. And actually I would also delete this line here, like this, and now we can position it in our tube. Let's give it a little bit of a tilt. Maybe we decrease the size a little bit more. Something like this should be fine. However, now we have those strokes here that are behind the tip. This shouldn't be this way, so we can select the tube and we're actually going to ungroup it and we're going to send this to the front. This should be alright. Let's finally select the whole thing and with Command G we're going to group it. Okay, next we take care of our petri dish. Let's move this one out of the way for now. We can tilt the lid a little bit Next, I want to copy this tip. This is inside of the group of the Eppendorf tube. So by double clicking, we can access this. And you need to be careful, the tip is made of 2 strokes. So this is one, and then we press the Shift key and we can select the other one. So this is a little round thing right here. We can copy this one, press Escape, and we paste it in here again. Let's move this out of the way. To get the filling right, we're just going to copy this tip again, and I'm going to select my color picker and take this color here. Then I'm going to move it above the tip again, send to back. And I'm just going to delete some of the orange color. Like this. To make clear that you push the solution on the plate, we should draw a little drop on the tip. Like this. Then we can select this one and use again the color picker to get the color right. And as always, send this to the back. Let's select the whole thing. And maybe we can also decrease the opacity of this one a little bit. Like this. We're going to group this one. And then we can place it onto the dish. This should be fine. Let's move on to our next step. Now we need a new tool and also a little dish of ethanol. The ethanol dish is quite easy. We're going to copy a petri dish and we're simply going to double click to select this element and we change the color to, for example, a light blue. Of course, ethanol is not blue, but this is just for illustration purposes. We can also write a caption that is ethanol. And now we need to construct our tool. Press Escape also to get out of the selection of this object. To do this, we're going to go to this menu and select the polygon tool. And we're going to drag this, and now I'm going to push the arrow down key to get a triangle. Then I press Shift key to get it straight. We don't want this to have a fill, so we're going to select none, but we're going to give this a stroke. Let's take black for the moment, increase it maybe a little bit, and then we're going to move this down, and I want to introduce a new point here, and also a second one, and then I'm going to go to the selection tool, and I delete this point to get this open space in here. With the pen tool, I can extend the line here and I hold the Shift key to get it straight. Let's move this up a little bit. And then of course you want to have rounded corners. You can change this in the strokes panel over here, and let's also increase the width of the tool, reduce the size a little bit. And of course you want to have rounded ends as well. I think it's still a little bit big. So this should be fine. Let's give it a little bit a grayish color. Of course, in reality this is glass, but it's a little bit difficult to show glass in illustration. We can move this down to our dish. And then we can go to our Bunsen burner. I have here already a flame prepared. Just place it above the burner. And if you have a wet flame, you always want to reduce the distance here that no air can flow through this. So we are just going to move this upwards. This should be fine. We can delete the rest of those. And we're going to group the whole thing. After holding our tool in ethanol, we're going to put it into the flame of the Bunsen burner. So we're going to rotate this one and put it into the flame for illustration. We actually can ungroup this again. And we need to ungroup this as well. And then we can put the flame on top. bring to front to show that we hold it into the flame. Then we need 2 new dishes and also 2 lids. We can take them from the left. Can select this one and we copy this one twice. And we also take the lid with us. Let's zoom in again. And now we already have the bacteria spread out on here, so we can ungroup this. And we delete the pipette tip. And maybe we also make this a little bit rounder and bigger. This isn't closed on the edge, so let's zoom in and close this one. We can select both points and then here connect them. And actually I would say we can delete this point because we don't need this to give it a little bit a rounder shape. This should be also round. Let's adjust this one. This is just fine. Then before you put the tool, because it was now in the fire, it's hot, onto your bacteria to spread them out, you need to place it onto the dish to let it cool a little bit. So we're going to illustrate this here. Then we also need to change the orientation of the lid, like this. We can even make a little Z here to illustrate that it's make a little sound if you put it here. Therefore we take the type tool and type Z. And we're just going to copy this 2 times. Alright, this should be fine. Actually, I would rather prefer to take this one here as our next dish. So we copy this one and delete the old one. And then we take our tool, copy this one again, and place it onto our dish. Of course, we need to take the lid with us. Let's zoom out. And I would say we can arrange this a little bit better. You see now our pasteboard is maybe a little bit small. We can increase the size by this one here. And we're just going to increase it a little bit. So we have now space to move them around freely. We can group this one as well. This will make moving around a little bit easier. We don't need this one here, we can delete this. And now we need to get our numbering on this graphic. This is step 1. And we're going to select the ellipse tool, press the shift key and drag a circle. We delete the fill in here and give it a stroke. And also we can increase the size of this number. 24 should be fine. And we place it inside here. With the align tool, we can center it perfectly, like this. Let's copy this and we're going to add the numbers for the other steps. Then we're going to group them that we don't lose the numbers. And we position them roughly to our figures. Next, you can make some adjustments, some little tweaks, and you can group your objects and also space them out on your sheet. The last step would always be to check your graphic for errors. For this, you can, for example, refer to your first sketch and compare your graphics. So we can see here we have missed out a lot of the errors, but I think this error isn't really necessary, and also this one is quite obvious. However, I would like to add those errors, and also this should be spread out a little bit more. And the numbering, or now we need to use letters for this process here, I would also like to add them. We can close this one again. And let's start with our letters. We copy this one. And I would say we decrease the size. Let's say, for example, 18 should be fine. And also I would like to change the color to blue, for example. Let's put them over here. This should be fine. And with letters as well as with your numbers, it's also a good idea to make them aligned, because you really see if they're not aligned together. And also the numbering, we're going to align them to the top. Actually, let's move the letters up as well. And if we select all of them, we can also align them in the center, like this. Next, let's take care of this one here. We're going to zoom in on this. And I first want to add some lines. I take the pen tool and I press Command U to get the smart guides off. And then I'm just going to add the arrows for rotation. We can change this one to an actual line, like this. And we also continue here, like this. Let's select both, and we're going to add an arrowhead. And then we need to decrease the size to, for example, 50%. This should be fine. Then I want to have this spread out more. I'm going to ungroup this one. And I'm just going to increase the size of this blob. And also I will decrease the opacity to something like this. To make the movement pattern of this tool here, to spread the bacteria out a little bit more clear, I'm going to add some more arrows. This time I will use the line tool. And I press the Shift key to get a straight line, like this. I select both lines, align them to the top, and of course I will change the color. And actually, I'm not going to do this in here. If you take the color picker, you even can copy the style of an arrow. Let's add again the head, and this should be 50% as well. Yeah, maybe this is 30, should be fine. Like this, we give this round edges. And also these arrows should have round edges. Now we can take a look at the whole thing. And I think this looks quite nice. Maybe we take the ethanol and move it up a little bit, like this. Now we need to change the size of this picture. So we select this one here and drag it into the right proportions. And now we also can delete our first graphic. So let's get rid of this. And the final step would be to save the document. I didn't save in my whole work, so this is always something you should not do like I did here. Always make sure to save your work every few minutes, like every 10 minutes, that you don't lose anything if the program crashes at some point. Let's save this one. And I'm just going to save this on the desktop for now. Alright, and there we have our nice Illustrator graphic. The next step would be now to take this Illustrator graphic and put it into InDesign. However, in InDesign it's really important that you give your picture a nice description. So in our case it would be, for example, something like you label first your petri dish, that you put the name of the bacteria on it and the date, and then you take some of the bacteria and put them on the dish. You want to make sure to sterilize your tool to distribute the bacteria. So you put it in ethanol, put it into the flame and put it on the dish to let it cool. And then you're going to distribute the bacteria on the dish. Okay, that's it for this tutorial series. I want to thank you all for your feedback and your views. And I'm going to have a new playlist. This is going to be called Beyond the Thesis. We're going to go a little bit deeper into InDesign and also into thesis writing, but also going to talk about something like how to create scientific posters and things like this. And I'm also going to ask some of your questions that the viewers had. and also some questions that are not directly related to scientific things or to thesis writing. So see you in the next playlist. Bye bye.